Yeah, I'm done.
I'm spent. This is going to be a very lackadaisical show. Oh, shit. I was trying to share it, guys. Welcome to Sports Program.
It's the Sports Program on TSPN with Derek, Zach, and Sean, who's been here the whole time. Head over to timespentpoorly.com and give the show a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and help move this show into more people's suggested lists. This show is also streamed live on many platforms, including YouTube, Twitch, and Periscope. Follow and subscribe so you don't miss out on an opportunity to chat in and give the guys a piece of your mind during the broadcast. Want to support the show? Great! Go to patreon.com/timespentpoorly to see how you can do that. And now it's my pleasure to bring you the hosts of the sports program on TSPN, Derek, Zach, and Sean.
Another golden intro. I thought you were going to get me again.
It's like roulette.
I thought you were going to get me, so I set my controller down at like 4 seconds. I was like, I'm ready this time.
You were proud of you for that.
I didn't see it on the sports program page. It's on the Time Spent Poorly page, but it...
Oh, you're right.
It's okay.
It's okay, Poppy.
It's okay.
Do we just jinx, dude?
We can, if that's what you want to do.
What's your favorite kind of jinx, man?
There's a difference in jinxes?
I don't know. There can be.
I know there's a difference in like stipulations, right?
Now. It's on there now.
Yeah, I guess.
So then we have it.
That way we have it.
It's there, so that way we have it.
They let you change it midstream.
Yeah,
that's kind of
cool. So did you edited out the talk we had last week?
I had cut out the first like 20 seconds. Yeah.
Wait,
the episode now starts with Derek doing the Adam Sandler impression, which is actually more hilarious because now there's no context to why he was doing it. It just literally starts with Derek going, and that's what he's like in all of his movies, and then he just starts doing Adam Sandler. Well, we've all said some very vulgar things in the first 20 seconds of that episode, so
we did.
I honestly didn't think we had started it right then, but
no. What's funny is there's a point like a minute into it where I realize we're live, and I'm like, because Derek does his impression, and I say, "Oh, I'm so glad we were live for that." But I should have realized we were probably live for what I was saying about Brent Gallman
and Gillian Jacobs.
Yeah, in Loads. Sorry, sorry, Mom.
I don't even remember any of what we talked about in that first.
Oh, we were just talking about Loads.
Yeah, in the movie or in the TV show Love. We were talking about the TV show Love, and I was graphically describing a scene from it because I did not know we were live.
It was the one where she.
We know,
box, right?
We know. Yeah, we all know. We all know already.
All right,
back to sports.
Hey, everybody! Welcome to the show. Last night, so this is kind of cool. So last night, Lakers and Blazers played, so that's Sean and I, and then tonight is Spurs and Blazers. So that's kind of fun.
And the reason it all matters is because we're all the now bottom dwellers of the West playoffs.
It's also very true.
The Blazers, though, over last night and tonight, have a great chance of solidifying that they're not going to be, right? Like, Lakers was a great start. And now if they beat the Spurs tonight, I think they really have a good chance of completely staying out of the play-in tournament and really forcing the Lakers into the play-in tournament.
Yeah, because last I saw, the Blazers have an opportunity to even get up to 5 if they won tonight.
Who's ahead of them? Is it the Mavericks?
The Mavericks I'm looking up
I think
who they're
it's the
playing
Mavericks.
next. See, the Mavericks though, they beat the Nets, and that was one of the things I was like, well. And then they beat the Cavs, and then they have the Cavs tomorrow. So I mean, the Mavericks could still stay in 5.
But it kind of seems like with the Nets, at least, because we play them this next week too, and then the Suns twice. I don't know. The Nets are behind the 76ers now, correct? 76ers are 1 and the Nets are 2 or 3.
Yeah,
Did Milwaukee pass? Okay. So I think for a while when they were jousting for that one spot, they cared. But now that they know they're not going to be, I think the Nets might phone in this last week of the season. Guys, we're in the last week of the regular season right now.
Yeah, I mean, I watched the Blazers and the Nets on Thursday, or it was not Thursday. It was Friday. It was a little bit now. The 30th though, and they even phoned that in. And the Blazers destroyed the Nets.
Do you think that this is a good question for both of you, because now that you're a lifetime Nets fan and Sean is a Lakers fan, but that's probably a little more legitimate in the time frame. Maybe. It's hard to say. But that being said, I don't think there's going to be a regular season game for the rest of the year where we see every member of the Nets that's, consider their big 3 on the court together until the playoffs start. I could be wrong, but it doesn't seem like we're going to see that. For the Lakers, Bron's like in and out right now, right? Like he might be there, he might not. He didn't even go to Portland last night. So maybe he plays the next game, maybe he doesn't. Is there any concern from either of you about going into the playoffs cold, right? Like they're literally just like coming out of the shower and entering the game.
Well,
yeah. I mean, I feel good about what the Blazers are doing right now. I feel like if they're going in 6, they have a way better chance of making it.
But the Blazers are going in fully healthy, unlike the other two, right? Like the Blazers got Nurkic back a couple weeks ago, then Lillard came back. Now they have Lillard, McCollum, Nurkic all healthy. Powell's getting used to playing with them. They have Melo officially on the bench. Cantor officially is now back to his bench role, which he's very good at. Simmons off the bench. I think they've had enough time to gel. Nets, I think they can figure out in the playoffs, right? They're going to play a bad team to start. Probably. If they're the 3 seed or the 2 seed, they're going to play a shitty East team. They'll be fine. But the Lakers are going in cold to a one-and-done elimination game, followed by, if they lose it, another one-and-done elimination game. Sean, how you feeling about that?
I just don't feel good about it at all.
About any of it?
Mm-mm. It like what we were talking about before we started with like Kuzma being a streaky little boy.
He's a streaky boy.
And then, I mean, I just feel like that's the entire team.
Yeah.
Either they're on or they're not.
It's just crazy because going into the season, the Lakers were the number 1 odds favorite to repeat.
And I think if Braun and Davis never got hurt, obviously it would be that case. But I haven't watched a lot of games. I watched the first game when Davis came back, but other than that, I haven't been. I just keep looking at the standings and just seeing them go like this and this every week.
It's interesting with LeBron James teams, to me, is that Nets are a good example of how it can work, right? One of their guys goes down, they have other guys to hold the fort. Those teams have the same budget, right? So what is it about LeBron James teams to where if LeBron or his other big dude always goes down, Anthony Davis in this example, those teams unravel?
Yeah.
It was the same within Cleveland, right? Like as soon as, I think it was the year that Kyrie went down, they were out of the picture when they didn't have Kevin Love. It was like they don't survive these moments, right? I guess that's the playoffs, so it's a bad example. But the last 2 years, when someone sits out, they just don't win.
Yeah. So when LeBron Lakers were doing really good, LeBron got the groin injury in December, and then they fell apart.
It almost seems like LeBron James's star power is a little different than the other ones, right? Like Kevin Durant's star power attracts other stars. It always has, or he just goes to them, right? Like he just says, "Screw it, I'll go to you." But he's willing to do that. Kyrie Irving, same thing. Like, good people seem to want to play with him. At least Kevin Durant did. James Harden, same deal. So they're all the types of guys that can carry a team alone. So put them together, they're great. LeBron doesn't attract a guy who can carry a team alone.
Like, yeah, he barely got Anthony Davis to go there.
I think Anthony Davis is a star, right? But I don't think Anthony Davis, New Orleans is a perfect example. They sniffed the playoffs a couple times with him, but not even consistently. Right. He doesn't attract the type of guy like a Kawhi Leonard who can, and last year's a perfect example. They had the chance to get him and he went somewhere else. LeBron does not attract people that can carry a team in his absence at all.
And I actually don't think they ever had the chance of getting him either. I think the narrative was looking like Kawhi might go there because maybe hopes and dreams, but I don't think Kawhi ever actually considered going there.
Right. And now, 1 year later, they're starting to look pretty dangerous.
The Clippers?
I mean, if you had to make me choose who's the better team right now between the Lakers and the Clippers, even if LeBron's on the court, I'm picking the Clips.
Well, I would say that till playoffs, and then PG-13 will suck.
You know,
he
will suck in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And playoff LeBron's different too. If he plays in those games, you still got to beat him 4 times. Has a number 7 or 8 team ever won out?
I think we've talked about this, but I want to say no.
No, but there is a year that a 7 went all the way to the finals and lost. And that was like 20 years ago, 30 years ago now.
If any team could do it, though, I feel like it could be like a LeBron-led. Like, he goes in 7 or 8. Like, if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be that.
It's almost like it doesn't even count with him. You know what I mean? Like a Lakers team as a 7 seed, no one even views them as a 7 seed.
No.
Like, who's the 7 seed going to be in the East? I guess I could just check real quick.
While you're checking on that, if the Lakers go in the play-in games, they go play in, they get 7 or 8. If they're facing off against the Jazz or the Suns, in my head, I'm still going to consider the Jazz or the Suns the underdog.
Miami.
Yeah, so Boston's the 7 in the East. And normally the 7 in the East is usually like a team like the Indiana Pacers or the Washington Wizards or some team like that, right? Like a team that doesn't even matter. But if you put the Lakers in the 7 seed, we don't even look at it the same.
Yeah.
This is an interesting year in general because the Celtics are the 7 on the other side, like the two most historic franchises in basketball. Definitely.
If I'm looking at the Jazz or the Suns and they're facing off against the Lakers, like I'm still thinking, man, you got to beat LeBron and AD 4 times.
So if they're the 7, they would play the Suns. And I am telling you right now, the Jazz will win the West. They'll be the 1 seed going in. Not they won't win the West playoffs, but they'll be the 1. They don't have Conley or Mitchell right now, and they beat the Spurs like two out of 3 nights by like 40 points each. Like they're playing great basketball, and they're blowing everyone out. It's not just like they blew out us. We're a bad team, but they're blowing everyone out. I don't think they
in the new in this system or
no. It's still like once you get down to the 8, it's still the same format. But Phoenix versus LA is actually pretty scary for me if I'm an LA fan because of Chris.
Oh yeah. They play tomorrow. They play tomorrow night.
They play tomorrow night. I think it's scary. But that being said, the Lakers are in that opportunity to do something very unique, right? They could play in the play-in tournament. They could even lose that first one, right? Like imagine this: they go into the 7-8, they lose, so they have to do the actual play-in game then against the winner of the 9-10, right? So. Let's see. In this scenario, they play Golden State, 7-8 game. Golden State beats them. I'm not saying that happens. Let's hypothetical. Then they have to play either Memphis or San Antonio. It's probably Memphis. They easily win that. So then they go to the 8 seed. Then they play the Jazz in the first round. They beat the Jazz in the first round, in my opinion, for sure. Then they play Phoenix in the second round. That's very tough. But if they get past that, they just wiped out the 1 and the 2 for everybody else. That means it only gets easier after that. Mm-hmm. That means so. Last year they had the most powder puff bullshit schedule ever to get to the finals. Like I don't count it. I never will. Last year didn't happen. Lakers didn't win a championship. They were just there. Like They went on vacation to a nice Disney resort and they won some basketball games. That's what happened last year. They probably
Didn't Shaq say it was basically like an AAU tournament?
Yeah, so what happened last year was LeBron went to Disney World.
Brought some friends.
Brought some friends with him. Jimmy Butler started a coffee shop.
Hey man,
I remember that.
That's not fair. The Clippers were there. The same team, same Clippers were there. Same team, same Clippers.
Teams, yeah, and they didn't play him. By the way, they didn't play him in the play-in tournament. So the Clippers shit their own pants and then didn't get to play him. So the Lakers' hardest series of the whole playoffs was against Portland. That was the hardest series they probably played, and because Portland won a game,
and it was scary. It was scary because Portland looked really good in game one,
and then they played the Miami Heat in the finals, and the Miami Heat team that was in that finals is the exact same Miami Heat team that they have this year. Like same dudes that had to fight to get into the 6th seed.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I'm just kidding. They won a championship for sure. Like that's a tough environment to win a championship in. But
I think just I get because they're all like mentally like miss their families and shit.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is if they get over the hump early this year, they might be on the path to do something historic, like be a 7th seed who has to do a once-in-a-lifetime play-in tournament and then win a championship.
I did think it was interesting that the East has 1 through 7 are all over 500 teams. The Celtics or number 8 is the only one under 500. I mean, so usually it's like the East is like like 6 through 8 or even sometimes 5, but like 6 through 8 are always under 500. But like this year, they actually are. The East actually looks scary.
What's also interesting is 2 months ago, just not even 2 months ago, we were on the opposite track. We were actually on track for the most losing record teams on both sides to ever make the playoffs. It seems like a lot of teams pulled their head out of their ass. Miami had a losing record less than 2 months ago. Charlotte's kind of been back and forth the whole time. Boston had a losing record. Atlanta was like 8 games under 500, and then they changed coaches, and that whole thing changed. New York was teetering around 500. Now they're a solid 4 seed. A lot's changed really fast. And then a team that is not going to finish with a winning record, but definitely pulled their head out of their ass is the Washington Wizards, who are now going to be in the play-in tournament. And they might win the play-in tournament. They won't make any noise long-term in the playoffs, but they're going to ruin someone's opening weekend, I think.
Yeah.
They're going to shit in someone's
going to be sad.
They're going to shit in someone's cereal. And I'm not saying it's like the full meal's ruined, but the cereal's gone. Yeah. Start of the day is over.
So some stuff that, has changed like with COVID or whatever, but so overall we've seen almost an entire season. Do you guys like the series? Like how they've been doing the series?
I think
or more focus on the series, I guess.
I think because they put them together, it puts more focus on the series. Yeah. So like these mini series are pretty cool. The better part about it, it's the part that's not talked about, is that now you play your rivals 3 times instead of 4. Because when it was 4, you can just split that season series, right? And that's boring. I don't want the Golden State Warriors and the Portland Trail Blazers to go 2-2 against each other. I want a clear cut going into the playoffs. If they had the same record, hypothetically, I want to know who's got the tiebreaker head to head.
Yeah.
Now we get that with every rivalry team. Not saying they should go to that shortened 72 every year, because I'm a little traditional that way. I like the 82 games. Mm-hmm. But maybe make it an odd number somehow between you and your rivals. Either it decrease it to 3 or increase it to 5.
Yeah, it's I like the idea as well.
And if you increase it to 5, you have the chance for like a home series for each team, like multiple games in the same week where you get to see 2 teams go at it. I like it.
I also like the idea of being able to go watch the team too. If you traveled to San Antonio, you could watch them play twice.
Well, and that's why, exactly. Yeah, but that's why they didn't do it before. I think before, for the people who were traveling to LA, right, to watch a Laker game, then they got some diversity, right? Like, I got to watch them play the Clippers and the Warriors on back-to-back nights. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's why they had it that way before. But some people like us might have, we're baseball fans.
Yeah, baseball. Yeah.
It makes us like the series.
Because I love making a weekend of baseball, you know. I mean, you go to your city, go to Seattle on a Friday, watch Friday, Saturday, come home Sunday, or even stay and watch all three. I love that. I think it's fun. But
Sean, do you like the series?
Yeah.
I mean, you've been watching a little less basketball this year than us, but like, do you give a shit about Laker rivalries? I guess is the real question. Like,
I mean, yeah.
Or is them beating anybody the same to you?
I mean,
is the real question. Is a win, or is wins over certain teams
win
gonna
over
get
certain
you fired
teams?
up?
Win over certain teams is always better. I mean, you love seeing the Spurs beat down the Rockets, which is a rivalry. But
I was gonna say, who are the ones that are the biggest for you then? We'll go three.
I always love seeing the Jazz lose.
So the Jazz are in my top three. Yeah, I
always love
Jazz.
seeing the Jazz lose, and then the Golden State's not the same. Like if Clay was still there and they were losing, I would like that a little more.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not really at full strength still.
We're just saying on like a regular year. Usually my top three doesn't change too much year in, year out.
Yeah, it's mostly actually the Jazz in Boston. I love seeing Jazz in Boston lose.
For me, it's Jazz, probably Jazz, Rockets, Mavericks, but there have been certain years, the last 2 years, kind of like you said, the Suns are really starting to sneak in there for me over the Rockets because the Rockets are so non-competitive right now.
The Suns are scary.
Now that the Suns are good, they're getting into my list. What about you, Derek?
Well, lots changed in the last few years, but OKC was definitely like my.
Oh yeah,
like, but that's changed. No Russell Westbrook. No
Durant.
It's different now. But still, I still don't mind seeing OKC lost to Portland. But I'd say the Lakers. I always tend to tune in during the Lakers Portland games. They go usually either way. I mean, it's usually really good games with the Lakers.
They might be my favorite team to watch my team play. Not the one that I want to see us beat the most, though. Just the one I want to watch the game. I just want to watch that game.
Well, that's been kind of the thing this year is teams really wanting to stick it to the Lakers. Like all these bad teams playing extra hard to beat the Lakers.
Oh, the Clippers now though.
Yes. Lakers, Clippers. Do you have a third? OKC.
Probably still OKC.
So,
but after last year with that stuff that happened with the Clippers in Portland, I definitely am like,
oh, dude,
screw the Clippers, man. I hate that team now.
It only takes like one altercation for me to like have like a lingering hatred for a team for years.
Yeah.
So
I like watching the Bulls lose as well.
You know, I actually used to really like watching a few Eastern Conference teams, Bulls, Celtics, Pistons. But the Pistons are just so bad now. But it's funny because when the Spurs play the Pistons, because we're a pretty bad team too, like we almost lose to them. And I think they even beat us each of the last couple of years once. I get flashbacks to like the Richard Hamilton, Chauncey Billups Pistons, the Ben Wallace Pistons. And I'm like, man, I don't even know who they have on the court anymore because they literally play with no names, but I still hate them because I think of those guys.
That's why I like watching the Bulls lose, because I think old Bulls fans just want to milk that Jordan name so much.
Can you imagine? Like I always say, because I look at Michael Jordan because of Space Jam, and I want to watch the end of his career, his last couple of years with Chicago, and then 1 year with the Wiz, and so I hold like an endearing spot for Michael Jordan. But I feel like if I would have been, me and Derek might have talked about this a couple of years ago. I feel like if I would have been like late 20s me during the Bulls era, they would have been like the Warriors to me, and I would have hated them.
Yeah,
I would have hated because I've never liked dynasties.
Yeah.
I've never liked dynasties. I bet I would have felt completely different about Jordan. And I'm a turd. I always like the no name brand, right? So like I feel like in the 90s I would have been like, yeah, well the Pacers are pretty good too, guys. Reggie Miller's my favorite player.
Yeah, Walmart's all right, but have you guys heard of Kmart?
Yeah. Have you guys heard of Big Lots?
Yeah, no, I agree. If I would have been an adult in the 90s, I probably wouldn't have been a Bulls fan. I probably would have been. Honestly, I probably would have been a Sonics fan.
Oh yeah, me too. Because they were Gary Payton. He would have been like and Kemp. They would have been like and Detlef.
Detlef Shrimp.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, man, that's true. I think I would have been all Sonics.
Yeah.
But would they have been to me like Seahawk fans are to me that deter me from liking the Seahawks just because there's so many of them?
They're like roaches.
Yeah, I bet you during the Sonics time, the Sonics era in the Northwest, people were probably just as unbearable. We just don't know. We were kids.
Yeah,
we just don't know. I actually think it's fine. It's a little different with like they were never a powerhouse basketball team, so people don't tend to brag about those as much. Plus, I don't think in the Northwest basketball was overly popular in that time period. Hence why it doesn't exist anymore.
I wonder how Jazz fans were.
The same, man, with like when Jerry Sloan was their coach, man, and they had Karl Malone and Stockton, and like I bet they were pretty unbearable.
Oh yeah. And
I mean, Malone wouldn't even be in the documentary, and Stockton didn't want to be in it.
I bet they were pretty unbearable, man. I just can assume Jazz fans are unbearable now.
Yeah,
they're like Gonzaga fans, man.
Yeah, I have a lot of I had that friend come to town, and we watched the Lakers game, and the Jazz just fucking destroyed him a couple months ago at his hotel. It was sad, dude. It was sad.
I've been to like multiple Spurs games now, and whether it was home or away, you go there, especially like when you go to Portland, they're like, "Oh, cool, you're a Spurs fan, and you came to a game in Portland. Like, good on you." And you go to you go to a fucking Utah Jazz game in Spurs gear, and they'll just literally go, "Fucking loser," and you're like, "What?" This gentleman who looks very polite just told me I'm a loser, and then his 6-year-old told me to kill myself.
Yeah, they're tithing members of the Latter-day Saints Church, but
kill yourself, you loser.
Yeah.
Go back to Idaho, peasant.
Peasant. This is the Lord's land down here.
Yeah, man. So I don't know, man. Maybe that's not really how Jazz fans are. It's just my idea of Jazz fans, but that's my idea of Jazz fans.
It's going to be a good playoff, so I really do think that.
Oh, yeah. I think this is going to be – basketball is always missing parity, right? Last year, we could have told you before the season started the Lakers were going to be in the finals, and like 2 out of 3 of us probably would have said that, and one of us would have said, "Oh, the Clippers." But right now, today, I don't think any of us can say with confidence we can name the 2 teams. No. Before the year started, we would probably, even before the James Harden trade, we could have said Nets, Lakers with some confidence. But that goes back to the beginning of this episode. I don't feel as confident about it.
No, I don't either. Even with the Nets, I mean, when they lose big. It's we're, like you said, we're not going to see all 3 on the court until the playoffs again. I don't think so.
This very well could be a Toronto season, right? Like the Toronto Raptors 2 years ago took advantage of just the way the dominoes fell with injuries to all these other teams. Not saying that's the only reason, because Kawhi's a stud, but this could be the year that either Giannis or Joel Embiid get their 1 championship, right?
Yeah.
This could be the year.
I hope not.
You don't like either of those guys?
I like both those guys.
I will always be okay with a team like Milwaukee winning a championship. A small market team. Now, Philly's not a small market team. They're a major market team, especially for basketball. The sport of basketball is huge there. But if they don't win it this year, I don't think there's another window.
No.
because Milwaukee's always going to be in the East. The Nets are only going to, I shouldn't say only get healthier. I think what they have done now, though, at least, is created a team that's going to keep attracting talent now.
Yeah.
And for years to come, watch out for this. Starting next year, Knicks are going to build something. Knicks are going to build something.
They kind of came out of nowhere for this season, huh?
Man, it just took the coaching. The coaching turned it around.
I mean, who's their star? Julius Randle?
Julius Randle's their star.
Yeah, which is wild to me.
Dude put in some serious work. I don't think I don't think it's just that they're showcasing him, right? Like some people think like, oh, they're finally giving him an opportunity. No, I think he really worked his butt off.
Yeah.
Realistically, I think he's developed an outside game. Dude can shoot threes.
Yeah, and he was drafted pretty high, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's like a top 6 pick.
Yeah, for the Lakers.
Yeah.
He was supposed to be the next big thing.
The cool thing is that Derrick Rose is contributing. There's guys this year, Carmelo, Derrick Rose, and Boogie Cousins, who are all contributing to good teams.
Where's Boogie at?
Clippers. Okay. And so they signed him on a 10-day contract so they can cut him after that, right? They signed him to another 10-day contract. I said, oh, okay. And then they signed him till the end of the year after that. So he earned his keep. This isn't just the Boogie Cousins name getting him a contract. This is like they gave him a small opportunity and another small opportunity, and he earned every minute he's getting now.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. I always like to see it. Cool
story. And they need it because Montrezl Harrell is now a Laker. They don't have that dude off the bench anymore.
Yeah.
And not saying that they're the same type of player, but they're both they play the same position at least. Boogie is doing something completely different than Montrezl, though. Harrell gives you that energy. Cousins is shooting the ball from everywhere. Like he is shooting like spot up threes at 7 feet tall, which is what healthy Boogie Cousins did, right? Like,
yeah,
it's kind of cool.
Well, yeah, I mean I still think back to that Boogie Cousins AD Pelicans team shutting out the Blazers in the first round. Just such a. I mean, they were a powerhouse.
They look like they could really be something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's cool to see these guys that the league kind of passed by kind of say, like, just kidding, I'm still here, you know?
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, I mean, Melo, 3 years ago was looking like he wasn't going to play ever again.
Well, so 3 years ago, we're like, he was on his way out, right? Like, he just didn't, even though he was still playing, he didn't look like he was any good.
Yeah.
And then 2 years ago, couldn't find a job.
Right.
And then didn't give up, which is awesome.
He couldn't even get on the USA team.
Right, which is like his thing. Like was the captain a couple years before.
And they wouldn't even let him play
Hoodie Mello
basketball.
I'm impressed.
And now he made that 10th overall like scorers list.
Yeah, and he'll finish the year at 9th. Like he'll pass another person before the end of the year. I was going to ask you because we talked about it earlier in the year, and you said, for sure he's going to retire a Blazer, and I said, well, this is his last year. Of course he will. But now he could play another year.
Yeah, I would.
Do you think he will?
I think he will. I think he's having a really good year. It's like he's still like in his renaissance now. Like I'd say he'll probably do one more year now. I still think he's gonna retire a Blazer. I know that, so I follow his Instagram and stuff, and I know he's like super appreciative to them basically like bringing him in, letting him play, and like now he's got like this stature back. Like I just find it hard to believe that he would just be like, all right, well, peace out. I'm going back to New York. Like,
well, well, here's the curveball here, because there is one. It depends how the Blazers, and this has nothing to do with him. I think if the rest of the team comes back, this is what I'll start with. The rest of the team comes back, aka Lillard, aka McCollum, the whole squad, he comes back. But what is looming over everyone's shoulder right now is the first domino that's going to fall, which is Coach Terry getting fired if they don't win a first-round playoff game. If they don't win in the first round, he loses his job. Coach Terry gets fired, Lillard goes to New York. Lillard goes to the Knicks, who are already admitted they're going to pursue him. Lillard goes to the Knicks. Melo goes to the Knicks.
Wow.
Melo goes to the Knicks. I think CJ stays in Portland and they rebuild around him, but it's going to be a rebuild.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
And I
hope they will go on a run. Keep Coach Terry.
I think they got to win at least one round. Then everyone ends the year on a high note. They win one round. Everyone ends on a high note. They bring them all back. And I think they're even better next year. But if they lose that opening round game, man, the dominoes are all going to fall.
Scary.
It's gonna be tragic.
I like Coach Terry too, so that's a bummer all around.
And the only thing is I thought about this because I came up with this theory like 3 days ago. The only thing about it is that Melo on the Knicks right now with the way that they coach.
Yeah.
I don't think he really fits. Like, I feel like they would want Damian Lillard, but and Melo would probably be like, "Can I come too?" And they'd be like,
yeah.
Can we be a package deal?
Yeah. But I kind of see it going that way, right? Like,
Sure.
if they go after Damian Lillard, which they're going to, regardless of if Terry gets fired, they're going to at least try to go after him. If they go after him and they get him, I don't think Melo wants to stay in Portland for a rebuild, even if they gave him an opportunity.
That's awesome. Sorry, I was getting a message.
I don't think he stays with I don't think if Lillard goes to New York though, Melo tries to stay in Portland with McCollum and build a future together.
No, I don't think you're right.
But
it's definitely a domino situation.
But does Tom Thibodeau, a defensive coach, want Carmelo Anthony? I don't know. Maybe because right now, because his bench power forward right now is Obi Toppin, and I would say
Obi Toppin.
I would say imagine this: Julius Randle, your power forward, leading scorer, needs a breather. His backup is a dude who's the same size, shoots the same shot selection. You're just pulling in Melo to do the exact same thing Randall needs a break for 15 minutes a game from doing. Yeah. And at times, you could play them both on the court at the same time. You don't need a center if you have two 6'9" guys who can post people up. It's an interesting dynamic. I think Tibbs might be interested, but someone's going to have to talk Melo into playing a season of defense.
Yeah.
Even if it's, I don't know. I prefer he stayed in Portland. I should say that, though.
Me too.
Because he does play a little defense there.
He does. He plays enough defense there.
Especially when they're playing bad teams. When he's playing someone he knows he's better than, he's a completely different dude. They were playing... Yeah, he's a fucking bully. They were playing the Cavaliers the other night, and I'm trying to remember who was guarding him. It's the dude who looks like Kevin Love, but he's not Kevin Love. They have a dude who looks like Kevin Love, and I'm like, oh, Kevin Love's guarding Melo, and it's not him. And every time this guy was on him, he was just doing the Melo, shoulder back into him, and making faces, then turnaround jumper every time, or putting a little trick into it. It was cool, man. He's doing all of his vintage Melo moves because he knows he can. He's like, this jabroni on this bad team is gonna do it. So I like watching Melo still. He's fun. He gives you enough flashbacks.
See how it goes. I mean, it's still fun watching him play. I still love that jumper, and it's still a lot of fun.
Because I haven't watched any Portland's games, but he was so fun to watch in the playoffs last year. So.
Oh yeah, especially. Well, remember, Hoodie Melo showed up to the playoffs as Skinny Melo.
Yeah, actually, if he keeps looking this good, that's the other reason I think that he could have another year in him. I just don't know if he really wants to. I think if they win a playoff series and they accomplish some stuff this year, and he proved everything he needed to prove on the comeback. I think.
I actually do agree. I do still think there's a good chance that he might still retire.
Right. I would. Yeah. This whole thing.
That 9th overall scorer, and and they win a game in the win a round in the playoffs, and he gets to go off on a high note. I could see it.
Yeah. If he went to New York, it would probably just be to retire because, even though he was very good for the Denver Nuggets, I still see him. The bulk of his career is in New York. He's a New York guy.
Yeah.
That's where he retires.
He still lives in New York.
Right. Man.
We just borrow him. He's out here, out in the Pacific Northwest.
Trading
just chilling. Does he crash with somebody? Does he, or does he just? Does he fly all the time?
I don't know if he's a hotel guy.
He stays in a really nice communal. What are those? A hospital. What are those called?
A hostel.
Hostel. He stays in one of those He stays in one of those hostels near the Hawthorne Theater in Portland and puts a bird on.
Catches some plays, some shows.
Puts a bird on a lot of stuff, and
or he stays out at Troutdale and lives in a B&B, little B&B.
He's a big McMinimans guy, so he just stays out in Troutdale and brews his own beer at McMinimans.
Yeah,
he's gotten really into making his own sauerkraut.
Hops over to Gresham on occasion.
Is that the bookstore?
No,
he goes to Powell's.
It's just a town. It's just a town where there's a lot of meth.
Is that why he's looking so skinny?
Gresham's the bad part. Well, I mean, it's all pretty bad, but
why do you guys know so much about Portland? I ain't never even been there.
You're the one who lives in Oregon, brother.
I'm gonna Google the surrounding areas of Portland so I understand your joke.
No,
I understood the Hawthorne Theater and the McMinimans. I got those jokes.
Yeah, if you're not going to McMinimans, you shouldn't be in. If you're not going to McMinimans, you shouldn't be in Oregon, man.
Well, if you're not going to the Hawthorne Theater, you shouldn't be in Portland.
Dude, that still have
amazing.
And they still have that PBR vending machine. It says PBR on it, but if you look at all the buttons, it's all Modelo. It says PBR vending machine, but then your only options are Modelo. I actually don't know why that is, and I don't know if every button really disperses Modelo, but it's there. They have it. Favorite place to go catch a metal or pop punk show.
Yeah, I went and saw Thank You Scientists and Closure in Moscow there.
Ooh.
The year before the pandemic.
Didn't even know they were still a band.
Well, it sucked. We were supposed to watch Protest the Hero, but we had to still work the next day, and Bridget got really tired. So,
man, I haven't seen them in so long.
We missed it, dude.
We have any more sports talk today? I actually got to get going a little.
Oh yeah,
no, I'm good.
I'm ready to wrap it.
Well, thanks everybody for watching the show. We're doing a little shorter show today, but we all got stuff to do. So, everybody have a great weekend. Enjoy basketball. That's what to watch right now.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we successfully talked Zero football, and that's fine with me.
Yeah. Because nothing's happened.
I don't need any hypothetical Aaron Rodgers drama in my life anymore.
Well, he's getting drafted.
Go Warriors.
Go Warriors. Go Wildcats.